Uncertainty continues to rattle global stock markets due to Donald Trump's wide-ranging trade war.
This sort of breakdown occurs only about once in a lifetime.
The worst two-day streak for the market since the early days of the COVID pandemic.
Millionaires are made in market downturns like this, and the longer the price stays low, the bigger the opportunity, especially if we can be greedy when others are fearful. That's the best way to get rich without getting lucky. I get greedy when every news station starts broadcasting news like this.
An exceptionally brutal day on Wall Street.
The stock market suffering major losses on the heels of the president's tariffs.
What is setting up to be the worst day for U.S. equity markets since at least the onset of the pandemic.
See, most people don't know that Bitcoin's price is being artificially suppressed right now. Most people think this is natural. This is the price Bitcoin's supposed to be at. Wall Street and powerful elites are using this tumultuous time to buy crypto assets low, all while the mainstream media scares retail away from these bargain bin prices. Luckily, we have a Wall Street insider, Matt Hogan, CIO at $6 billion Bitwise. He says that smart money is loading up big, and if Bitcoin was truly in a free market, its price would be a lot higher than it is today. He says there is no way Bitcoin's price stays this low for long. There is mass suppression going on in crypto like we've never seen before. Listen to his theory here, and you tell me if you agree or disagree.
There has been so much fundamentally positive news, and it's just been buried sort of in the background. We've caused ourselves to ignore it. There's the strategic Bitcoin reserve. There's the SEC pulling back on essentially every lawsuit. There's progress on stablecoin legislation. There's talk of market structure legislation. There was the White House Crypto Summit. These are game-changing positive developments that should put Bitcoin trading at $150,000 or $200,000 today. It's been suppressed because in the short term, this overhang of the economic uncertainty is weighing on the markets. I think if that is released, we're at new all-time highs quickly, and we're on our way to where I think we'll be at the end of the year, which is Bitcoin 200,000. So I think there's been this sort of suppression of really good news. If that suppression is removed, I think it's a coiled spring. So in that scenario, I think we do exceptionally well.
Is there anything else that needs to happen to get us to Bitcoin at 200K by the end of the year?
I don't think so. You have these three horsemen of insatiable demand for Bitcoin. You have the ETFs, which I continue to think will have strong net flows this year. You have companies. We saw MicroStrategy buying more Bitcoin. I think the number of companies buying Bitcoin is going to triple this year. I think the game theory is on. It's slower than people maybe want in this impatient crypto world, but I think countries around the world are going to be buying Bitcoin. So there's structurally more demand than supply in Bitcoin. I think all we need is to release this sort of economic gloom that's hanging over us. If we do that, I think it's straight to the races.
Another reason why I don't think prices will stay this low for long, President Trump is now putting immense pressure on Fed Chair Jerome Powell for the Fed to lower interest rates. We've never seen a sitting U.S. president put pressure on the Federal Reserve Chair like this.
Mr. President, on Jerome Powell, you said that the termination of Jerome Powell cannot come fast enough. He says he won't leave even if you ask him to.
Oh, he'll leave. If I ask him to, he'll be out of there. But I don't think he's doing the job. He's too late, always too late, a little slow, and I'm not happy with him. I let him know it, and if I want him out, he'll be out of there real fast, believe me.
So there's an intense debate right now on whether or not Trump can even fire the Fed. Understand that this debate is leading to even more short-term uncertainty that will eventually pass too. This economic expert says Trump has no power here. Watch this clip, comment your thoughts on whether you think Trump can do this or not, and understand that after all this passes, that's when people around now have the potential, if you made smart moves, to get rich.
Is it possible to fire the Fed chair? Is it totally impossible, or are there odd ways around it that the president could do if he so desired?
Well, the chair can be fired by the president for cause, which is generally thought to be incompetence at the job or some malfeasance that they might commit. The idea of disagreeing with the chair's monetary policy, which, by the way, is not just the chair's, it's the whole Federal Open Market Committee, that would, most people believe, not be sufficient cause to dismiss the chair.
What's most interesting is that it seems like Jerome Powell is a big Bitcoin crypto bull now. This is a huge 180 for the Federal Reserve. The US Fed Chair says that he's supportive of positive crypto regulations that Trump is spearheading. You have to think when the Federal Reserve Chair says this about crypto, the whole world is listening.
How do you see the potential for more favorable regulations coming on them and potential risks from that for the system?
I think that the climate is changing and you're moving into sort of more mainstreaming of that whole sector. So Congress is again looking at both the Senate and the House are looking at a framework, a legal framework for stable coins. You know, depending on what's in it, that's a good idea. We need that. There isn't one now. And stable coins are a digital product that could actually have fairly wide appeal and should contain consumer protections of the typical sorts and transparency. And that's what the Senate and the House are working on. So that's a positive thing. I also think some of the, we took a pretty conservative, and other bank regulators took an even more conservative perspective on the guidance and rules we imposed on banks. I think there'll be some loosening of that, and I think we'll try to do it in a way that preserves safety and soundness, but that permits and fosters appropriate innovation, but that does so in a way that again doesn't put consumers at risk in ways they don't understand or make banks less safe and sound.
So let's talk about what most people don't know. The fact that Bitcoin now has 3 big buyers going forward. Governments, corporations, and institutions are going to continue ramping up their buying of Bitcoin and crypto. And when they do this, Bitcoin's price will have to go a lot higher. Matt Hogan says this is definitely happening and you need to prepare and act accordingly.
In terms of who are the buyers of Bitcoin, I really think there are 3, but I think they're all significant. I think governments will buy hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin over the next year. I think corporations, which bought 350,000 Bitcoin last year, when from a FASB accounting perspective, they could only mark it down on their books and it could only hurt earnings. And that changed January 1st. I think they will buy more Bitcoin this year than they bought last year. And I think hundreds of companies will do it. And then I think institutional investors are recognizing that Bitcoin is now part of the global capital markets. And if you're not at 1% Bitcoin, you're effectively short against the global capital market benchmark. And so I think there are, hundreds of billions of dollars of investment that need to come into Bitcoin just to level up to flat. I continue to think 95% of all Bitcoin is owned by someone, and 95% of the people who have to own Bitcoin don't yet own any. And the cross of those two numbers just is this fundamental source of demand. So governments, corporations, and institutions, I think those are multi-year trends, and I don't see anything slowing that down.
If you want to make money in crypto, make sure you subscribe to Altcoin Daily for daily crypto content just like this video. We keep you informed and give you an edge like no other channel does in crypto. You'll wake up one day and a country having a Bitcoin reserve will be as natural as a gold reserve has been for the last 100+ years.
If the United States announces that we are buying 1 million Bitcoin, that's just a global seismic shock. Right? I think that really is a big deal. I think first the Bitcoin price goes through the roof, right? I think we probably go very quickly to something like $1 million per Bitcoin. And then you have to wait and see what are the sort of dominoes to fall from that, right? What are the second order effects of Bitcoin just being monetized on a faster trajectory than I think a lot of people anticipate? The first is sort of other nation states' reactions. So other nation states will see sort of, you can't be left behind. I suspect that Bitcoin being monetized that strongly and that quickly would have a negative impact on sort of the long-term outlook for gold.